All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our regular school board meeting for Monday, January 12th. We're going to call tonight's meeting to order and start with our roll call.
Dubé?
Here.
Martin?
Here.
Crock? Here. Leathers?
Here.
McAllister? Here. Young? Here. Zilke?
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We got our agenda for the night. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda? Motion by Carol, second by Cece. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Our first agenda item is a recap of the 2025-2026 elementary walkathon. We have guest speakers tonight, our PTC representatives, Lana Kenyon and Noel Bin. Come on up.
Thank you for inviting us to report on the All Elementary School Walkathon. This fundraiser is for Southgate, Banfield, Netherland, and Sumner Elementary Schools. I'm the PTC treasurer for Southgate, and we just wrapped up our third year of the All Elementary School Walkathon, and we're happy to report it was another huge success. We raised a total of $52,483. So this number includes student donations at each school, along with 37 businesses donated, which totaled up to around $8,700 of business donations. In addition, we received an additional $9,000 from the Hormel Charitable Trust, totaling that $52,000. So it was amazing. In 2003, just again to give you some background, in 2023 was our first year, and we raised over $54,000 that year. In 2024, last year, we raised $53,000. And then this year was $52,000. So the number is going down, but we're still super excited and amazed that we're bringing in over $50,000 every year. And just to give you some background, this number is broken down. It's basically how we figure out how much money goes to each school is based on the number of pupils. And so every year there's been a minimum of $8,000 that's been able to be provided per school per year because of this all elementary school walkathon. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Noelle Day. She's going to talk about where these funds go and how you can help in the future.
So when it comes to how the funds are used, the money raised through our walkathon is spent in two main ways. So first, all 4 elementary schools have identified shared priority areas this year, including support for PBIS and its celebrations, as well as family engagement nights. Second, each school is able to use a portion of the funds to address its own unique needs. So for example, Banfield last year was able to purchase some flexible seating for their library. So when we met with the principals and Dr. Page back in November to discuss the results of the walkathon, Dr. Page very generously asked what kind of support would help keep this work successful moving forward. There are 2 areas where we would really appreciate additional support. First, we would love to help spreading the word when the fundraiser returns this fall. Sharing information with students, families, staff, community members, and those local business owners makes a huge difference and helps us continue reaching our goals. Second, we would welcome more involvement from parents and caregivers, both in planning the walkathon itself and, more importantly, helping decide how those funds raised can be best used in their school. So any parents or caregivers who are interested are encouraged to reach out to either one of us or their building principal. Thank you so much for having us. Do you have any questions for us?
I do. So do you meet as a collective at some point every year? Or just the chairs to talk through some of these issues? I love this idea. I think it was long overdue. And I love that some of those funds are used at the discretion of the buildings, but this is such a good way to make sure that we're equitable amongst the elementaries. So do you meet then as leads in the building?
Yeah, we usually before school in the summer we come together, all the principals come together, and there's usually one point contact per the building in addition to the principals that help facilitate the whole walkathon. And this year, just with the business pushes of going to businesses and asking again for the third year in a row, we really wanted all the principals to be in line with what collectively, as a principal of all the schools, are you looking to put this money towards? And so that's where we had decided collectively together that PBIS incentives and family engagement rights and different things. And so, yeah, we take in the input of everyone, even when it comes down to prizes. We have subcommittees that we have for prizes and different aspects. Anything you want to add to that?
No, it is. We have that main meeting right away in the summer for the building principals, like she said, and then anyone else who's interested in helping out throughout the year. And then there's a giant email chain that we just keep everybody updated as the whole thing progresses, and then we have another meeting to follow up afterwards in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
That's just great. Thank you so much for volunteering your time.
Carol, you have a question?
I did have a question, but you basically answered it. I was gonna ask about the businesses, if there was like a subgroup that contacted the businesses, or if they just actually came to you and said,
So in the first year, I went door to door to a lot of businesses. I created a brochure, kind of spelling out really what the all-school walkathon does and why it's important, and it provides equal opportunities amongst all the students throughout the district. And so we went to a lot of the businesses door to door for that. Then the next couple of years, really we just reached back out to them. We have a Google Doc where anyone can reach out to a business and they upload that. So it's really a collective effort. Some other PTC members of different schools, they're like the lead in the donation committee, and so they kind of take it on themselves to reach out to businesses. But if anyone wants to call us, that's also very welcome.
thank you, this is just awesome, thank you.
Thinking about how to, exploring ways to get more parents and caregivers involved, what kind of strategies have you done so far, and where do you think you might best benefit from some extra support? That might be ask one of the principals kind of question, but.
Yeah, no, we're trying, each year we've tried different things. We've tried being at the back to school nights. We've tried using it as kind of a kickoff to our PTCs in the summer and before the school year starts. And I think it's just continuing to get the word out there that the opportunity is available to come and help out. And then also, if you don't have the time to help out, even just doing it with your student, just the family, kind of going out and looking for donations and fundraising that way and trying to get kids excited about the prizes that they'll earn, and they can get involved that way too.
Great. Yeah, I wanted to just add, when we do the fundraiser, the smallest donation makes a difference because it all adds up. And we have, I think, close to 1,700 students in the elementary schools buildings alone. So even just a $10 donation, if every student did a simple $10 donation, that it all adds up. So just getting them involved is awesome.
Well, thank you for coming. It sounds like Don's got something.
Yeah, having, along with my wife, spearheaded 2 fundraisers in the past and done what you're talking about, the footwork, the talking to businesses, the amount of work that you've done to benefit students and staff in the elementaries is really astounding. It's you look at you and you look like you're in pretty good shape, but I think maybe in the middle of all that stuff,
It's been a few months.
It's over now.
But it's an arduous task and it's well worth it. And you've done a great job, so congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thank you for coming. Please share our gratitude with the rest of the team. I know that it's not just the two of you, thank goodness. But let the rest of the PTC team know that we are very supportive of the work that you do. We're very excited to see what next year comes out.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. All right, next we're going to invite State Representative Patricia Mueller and State Senator Jim Dornick forward to come have a conversation. I'm going to turn the table over to Dr. Page to take us on.
Thank you, Chair Dubay, and I'll let Representative Senator Dornick get situated. So, and then for board members, you should have a copy, and then to be able to our guests too, just a copy of the 2026 MSBA legislative priorities. First of all, I just want to say we're really glad that you're here tonight. Our board represents families, staff, and taxpayers across the community, and we really appreciate the time that you take to listen and learn with us. So thank you very much for accepting our invitation. I think really just keeping this practical and focused on what helps kids succeed while being good stewards of our local dollars is really kind of the spirit for tonight. And we just love to hear your thinking as the legislative session is getting started. And I think perhaps some of our board members might just have questions as well. So it's really kind of free-flowing at all as we go through this. Like I said, you do have a copy of our legislative priorities, as I said when I was handing that out to both of you. There's no quiz tonight on it. We're just sharing information with this. And I'll just turn it over to you if you just want to do an introduction and then with the board members.
Do I have to watch anything? Or
I think it's on. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the work that you guys do. Representative Mueller, my third term as state representative and former teacher here at Austin High School. Plenty of fond memories of teaching here at Austin, and I know the hard work that you guys do and how you go above and beyond to provide for your students and for your staff. So thank you so much for that. As a person who's had over 20 years in education, this is my #1 priority as a legislator, and was honored to be co-vice chair of Education Policy Committee this year, but also a member of Education Finance Committee, and then also I was newly appointed to the Labor and Workforce Development Committee during this term. I normally try to make it to school boards at least twice a calendar year, and so I probably was at least made an appearance during your last school year, but as for this school year, I was a long-term sub at the school across the street, and so I was unable to make it to some of the meetings, so thank you for your forbearance, as I have not been here yet for my second visit in 2025. Looking over our legislative priorities from our friends at MSBA, it's, I think I really want to point out a couple of really important things. The first one is the Special Education Cost Subsidy and that Blue Ribbon Education Commission. I know the work that has been, and the lobbying that has been done to make sure to increase the cost subsidy, and I actually have no idea of any person who is against decreasing that cost subsidy. The thing that is going to be the most difficult, especially for the Blue Ribbon Commission, is what that's going to look like. Because they're going to find, the goal is to find $250 million in reduction, and what does that look like? In my opinion, it can't be the amount of money that goes to schools to help you fulfill all of the regulations that you're required to do from the federal government. I think I've been in front of you before when I said that the federal government's job when they passed this act, the IDEA Act, was to have a commitment to the states that they would be able to fund it at 40% and that the state would have 60%. And the highest they've ever done it is probably closer to 12 and maybe not even that. And so the federal government has not upheld their part of the bargain, and so that makes it incredibly more difficult for our state budgets to be able to get a grip on this. Something that they will do, most likely, is to look at some of the regulations and paperwork that has been kind of foisted onto our special education teachers. That is also an incredibly difficult decision, as I know many advocacy groups have worked really hard to get those provisions into special education, statutes. So there's going to be some really difficult and honest conversations about that. So, the other one that I think that I would like to talk about is the timely implement of mandates and also looking at the instructional assessments. Instruction and assessments where we are looking at the broadening definition of instructional hours is something that I'm actually a co-author on. And I'm really excited to be able to talk about what that could mean for our schools, especially as we look at access to non-traditional courses, which you guys are already doing through CEO, and I'm really excited about those things. Just today, I had an organization called Stride come and talk to me about updating online learning statutes to look at remote testing, and I would really encourage any feedback that you have about that, because as a person who's had to proctor the NCAA test, I do have some questions about what that would look like. Open to the idea, but have some questions about it. And of course, looking at the mandates and looking at the paid family leave and some of the other new employee law. I'd love to hear some on how you guys are adjusting to the new law that came in the middle of the school year for you. So thank you for the work that you do, and I'm looking forward to our conversation. Sorry for a lot of talking.
It's great to be here. Gene Darnay, State Senator. I serve in agriculture and labor industry and veterans committees. And so the school is, Representative Mueller and Representative Bennett have been a great help to me as navigating crews. When you're on the committee, it's hard to keep up with all the stuff that's going on. And it's disappointing with some of the mandates and things that you guys gone through, and we tried to actually do a moratorium and just stop those for a little bit and on some amendments on the floor, but we were unsuccessful. I guess the one that I would address the most, because I know the best is a paid family leave, and we that came through our committee and tried very hard to change and soften that and have some exemptions and carve-outs for options, and that was just when we didn't. And so even just before Christmas, I was at the Capitol at my office. I'm not going up there very often, but here I met one of my colleagues across the aisle. We talked about the family leave and asked them, hey, are you open to doing some changes and helping our small businesses and some of the schools and some of the things that need to be tweaked. And I'm hopeful. Again, I just texted him today to hey, let's get together and discuss some of this. So no promises there, but we're seeing that 18,000 have already signed up for it, and I'm already hearing. We had a meeting just before. Well, actually, it was New Year's Eve with businesses is very concerned about that. And so that's a big thing that I'm hoping, things it is a policy year and a bonding year. The budget's pretty much done. Well, it is done unless we do a supplemental budget of some sort. So that's done. So that's what we're going to work on. Again, I'll do my best to try to get some change, or we will try to get some tweaks on that. And then as far as with the bonding, that's so important. All that we need the infrastructure, and also got their wastewater treatment plant. Now we have elderly needs there. So again, hopefully we'll get a bonding bill this year. Things it is an election year, it's going to be a lot of talks and theater, I guess, which is not the way I work. I appreciate just the behind the scenes conversations and getting the work done. That's so I've always done. I'm a carpenter by trade. I went to vocational school right here. It's also Votech when I went, so Fairfield through the carpentry school. So appreciate what you guys do and what you have here in Austin, and look forward to hearing more conversation and learning from you. So thank you.
We're going to open it up to board members if you have questions that you can pose to our representative and our senator.
I'm Don Leathers. I'm board member, and I'm also a member of the Delegate Assembly, MSBA, and this year there were 103 delegates at the assembly. It was held in December. I think we had 47 resolutions that school boards and administrators write and forward to the Delegate Assembly. And we have a robust debate, and we vote on those resolutions. I believe that the 45, maybe 35 of them passed. And MSBA does an outstanding job of going through statutes and putting together a really good pamphlet that we can navigate. Two of the issues that were really important in terms of school districts is the PSEO and concurrent enrollment, and then the unemployment insurance funding. And as you said, this year is not a budget year, so I don't know about the unemployment insurance, but that it was either funded fully, and I know you funded it, and then it was used up, and then you refunded it, and the funds are dwindling. The legislative Delegate Assembly decided to have the resolution either fully fund the program or repeal it. Austin Public Schools, if I'm not mistaken, if it's not fully funded, would cost $325,000, and that's a huge, and we're just emblematic of school districts across the state. It really becomes, if it's not funded, an unfunded mandate, and you know as well as I do that there are a lot of unfunded mandates in public education. You highlighted the cross-section as being one of them. And then the other one, PSEO, there were 4 resolutions on that, so it was a very hot topic. And it had to do both with concurrent enrollment and PSEO, and I believe that, it's been a month ago, so some of the things that we talked about, I've kind of vaporized in my mind, but it sounds to me like the PSEO legislation is somewhat antiquated and needs to be re-looked at and updated to meet the needs of, because our online learning academy has proliferated over the last couple of years, and whether what the consensus was that we need to relook at PSEO. And another one was the concurrent enrollment. The belief is that if a high school is offering a concurrent class that is as rigorous as a community college, that maybe the student should be required to take the concurrent class. I believe Rochester, in one of the resolutions, it was highlighted they spent $4 million in PSEO money, and that's a large amount of money. So the feeling was that we look at the PSEO legislation, and it becomes kind of an us versus them game between the college setting and the high school setting, and it's a tug of war for dollars.
Board member letters, I appreciate you bringing those up because, it is definitely a concern. First of UI, it's definitely a concern. This is something that in the original agreement that was brought to the House in this session was that this would actually expire in 2028, or until the funds run out, and that this was then revealed to be a mandate. And as you know, this is something that has been, this is something that was fought for by, after COVID kind of accelerated the need for helping those who do not have that income during the summer. It's been a delicate issue to talk about because my paraprofessionals that I worked with are invaluable, and I want them to get as much compensation as possible, and I want them to also understand that when they sign this 9-month contract, that that's what they signed. And so how do we do that? How do we make that happen? We've offered alternative proposals of, could we allow it to be a 12-month contract where they readjust the pay and they get paid over those 12 months and allow that. I don't know what the complete answer is, but I do know that it's been really difficult for our school districts to not only have this, but also not have a lot of control over it. And what I mean by that is after you don't really know who's going to be taking the unemployment insurance. It's just at the very end of the fall, you all of a sudden get this bill, and you're just like, what the heck, what happened to you? And so we've tried to talk about what do we do to kind of put some more concrete regulations on this, I hate that word, but more concrete qualifications on this, so, and also more communication so that you guys aren't like totally surprised at the very end. I don't know if this is something that's gonna go away, to be honest, but if we could be able to make it more manageable for school districts, I think that might be more helpful. As for funding it, we would have to kind of readjust and reprioritize where some of that money goes. There was millions of, education funding is 40% of our state budget. And so our state budget, last term was $72 billion. So 40% of $72 billion is close to $26 billion. So being able to fund this would be a matter of reprioritizing that, if that's something that you as a school has decided that is something that you're prioritizing. So that's kind of where that is, we're low-ish where that is, and how can we make this more manageable for you. As for PSEO, it's definitely something that I felt as a teacher as well, where the struggle of, I feel like I have to do this because college is so expensive, or I have to do this because I heard it's much easier over at blah, blah, blah. And so, but yet you as a school are being held with a bag because you offer the class and people sign up for it, and then all of a sudden in the last week of school, everyone drops and goes over to, the community college, and now you're like, I hired a teacher for this, like, what do I do? And so we've been trying to, again, not to discourage PSO, but again, put some more parameters around what that looks like. How do we talk to the school, to the higher ed education institutes to say, hey, within this certain amount of time, okay, but we're done. Like, you can't continue moving people around like this. So we can talk about what that looks like. I have been a huge supporter of doing college in the schools, to that you have the kids here, and that you have the teachers here, and that they work with the local community school, but they're here. And so I've been a huge supporter of that, because of the fact that you get all the benefit of getting college credit, but you also don't have to worry about like this tugging of who gets the student. So those are just some of my initial thoughts.
Yeah, I think the key word is rigor. We want to have rigor both on the high school and the college level.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying one entity is not rigorous and one isn't. I'm just saying we need to make sure that there's rigor on both ends, high school and on the college level. So thank you very much.
I just wanted to follow up just a little bit with that on the unemployment. We, as Representative Mueller talked about, it was a thing that we wanted to work through and balance a little more. And with what they actually did on the Senate, they decided to take money from some money they had put away for light rail. And so this was such an important issue to some of the Democrats that they were willing to give up light rail to get this. And so they had a real tussle in the House. We're in the minority, so but yeah, it was a hard, negotiated to get it, and it was out like she had said, but then it got back in. But that's how they funded it. Part of it was with that, taking that money from light rail. Other thing I wanted to ask, I guess, is the resolutions you got for PSEO. What are some of those areas? I don't know if you could share one or two of those just real quickly.
Well,
But
I think one of them was to reevaluate the program.
just reevaluate, okay.
It's been in existence for a while, and like Representative Mueller said, it's proliferated, and maybe some students are taking advantage of it for reasons that were not originally intended. And then the second one was the idea of concurrent class at the high school. If the high school class is as rigorous as the one in, say, I'll just use for our purposes a community college, that perhaps the student should be required to take the high school class, which would be financially advantageous to the school system. And as I said, I believe, if I recollect, Rochester, and they're just representative of a district with some numbers, it cost $4 million that they paid to community colleges last year for student tuition. Those are the two things that stick out in my mind.
What we don't want, and I've never seen this here, but what we don't want is what I'm hearing reported around this, in other places around the state, where some of the higher institutions are, it almost feels like predatory, for, trying to get them to this, like, you don't want to be at the high school, come over here. It's like, you look at all these benefits, and you're just like, there's a time and a place for each of those spaces, and each of those students, we have been with these students for a long time, and we know which ones would be successful in PSEO and which ones would struggle. I remember having those conversations with my students. Like, you're going to take 4 PSEO classes at the same time online. Like, let's talk about this, But the allure of, I can sleep in, or I don't have someone breathing down my neck, or I can have my college paid for. These are things where those benefits are good, but not always reality. And so we're trying to make sure that everyone's informed of all of the things that it entails to be successful in a higher institution. And that it's just not, college is paid for, and I don't have to show up at school at 7:30 in the morning, or whatever it is. Like, or I can go to school in my pajamas because it's online. Come on, there's more to it than that. This is a grade that stays in your transcript forever. And I try to be very honest with my students when they talk about it, and I think that we need to make sure that those conversations are happening.
This isn't on this sheet, and I have to ask, we spend a huge amount of time and energy on the social and emotional health of our students, knowing that in order for them to achieve academically, we have to make sure that their needs are being met and that they're in a safe environment. And I would love to have some reassurance from both of you that there are huge conversations going on in Minnesota about the safety of our students last week, this week, the coming weeks. I know attendance in Rochester and Austin has suffered greatly in the last few days. I know we have had high-speed chases by our schools. We have students that don't want to be in school. This is no longer a safe haven for them. That is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. And I would love for you to reassure this board that our legislators are working toward figuring out how we can send our students and families to school safely. Thanks.
I will start by saying there are, and it's the reality of it, that there are things that I am allowed to do and things I'm not allowed to do. And so there are, in the realm of the federal government, I can make statements, but I can't always change policy because that's not where I work. I cannot change the federal government. I will tell you that as a body, as a legislative body, I have supported and have done and have authored bills that would allow for more money to be brought to you for the security of your building. And I know that's not exactly what you're addressing, but I just wanted to say here, like, as we look at other things that people are concerned at when it comes to safety, that I had supported increasing, it's called the Safe Schools Act, that you would have had more money towards various other things, such as counselors and looking at security cameras and all those things. So, I mean, when we're looking at threats that way, I have been in support of that and wanted to see that happen, to reevaluate some of where we were prioritizing some of our funding. I wanted to make sure, because that was something we did hear from our families. Our families did talk to us about how they wanted the building to be safe. They wanted the building to be safe. That was before all of this was happening, so that's where most of the focus was. As for what's happening now, your superintendent has done a really good job at reassuring the families of the rights that you as a school have and the rights that the families have. And so I would encourage you to continue doing that job, and thank you for that. I have also been in contact with plenty of people who have contacted me, and we've had good conversations about what is fear that makes sense and fear that is fear. And so, like, I understand where your reality is your reality, and we honor that. I will tell you, and I will not speak for the senator, but I will tell you for myself that we have done, both my husband and I have been very adamant that those who are here in our community and have put roots down, who have not broken the law, and have intentionally decided to be a part of our community, those people need to stay. And we have been very vocal about that. And if I have not, I've been in the school since Friday, so I haven't been out in the streets watching and all of those things. But what I can do is limited to this, and limited to these policies that you're seeing here. And so that's, at this point it's words, and I'm sorry that it's just words, but it is just words right now. I will say that your school board and your superintendent has done a marvelous job at making sure to inform families of their rights and why they don't have to be afraid to be here. And so I would encourage you to continue that. I hope, I know it's not the answer maybe that you wanted, but it's the answer I can give.
You did a really good job of answering the question, not much left, but I guess what I think needs to happen too is us politicians need to tone down our language some of it's on us. When I say us, I mean it's more of a federal issue. ICE is federal, and we don't have jurisdiction there. And they can come into our state, and they do, and they're trying to work with, but there's just this animosity, and it's really hard to watch, right? When people can't talk respectfully, and you use language that shouldn't be used, and it's frustrating, very frustrating to me, or both of us. So both of us work really well across the aisle on many issues, and work where we can, and then some things you just, you agree, disagree. So again, I guess I'll just dittos to thank you for what you guys do, and going through this hard time where we got to figure it out soon. And I don't have the silver bullet or the answer that, hey, it's going to be solved with this, but we do need to be able to talk to each other, respect each other, And those are here, yes, that have been here. Yeah, but they need to say, this can has been kicked down the road way too long with immigration and making it so difficult for them to come here legally. And so this is a problem that's frustrating that they haven't done more a long time ago. So thank you for the question. Thank you for what you guys do. We'll continue to do what we can up there at the state when we start. But right now, there's not a lot we can do.
Can I just spin off on some of that Board Member Crock said? That is the fear that families have, not only in Austin, but in many places in America. And then, Senator Dornick, you mentioned the idea of rhetoric and language. And I would just ask, because when a Republican does something, the Democratic caucus will come out and excoriate him in the media. And then vice versa. What I would add, it saddens me, because, you know, you are just like we are, just like teachers are, just like the superintendents, we're role models, and it just seemed like if you watch TV or read the headlines, that it's so contentious, and people have such a bad feel, we're tribalist. And I would just ask that you go back to St. Paul and try, and maybe you have, and I'm sure you have, but encourage your colleagues to be a little bit more civil and work, you mentioned you worked across the aisle, more of that bipartisanship would really go a long way in healing some of the wounds in this country that we live in. And I believe state government is the incubator of legislation in America. It's not Washington, D.C. You know, it's Nashville, it's St. Paul, it's Billings, Montana, it's the state legislators, and so you have a lot of power. And I just hope that you can encourage your colleagues to tone down the rhetoric and work together and join hands. And we have a job to do, and let's be gracious human beings. And I'm not saying you're not, but I'm saying what you're reading in the paper, it's contentious at times, and let's try to.
Well, social media is just.
Yeah.
Thank you, appreciate that.
And I think that, to your point, and also to yours as well, you know, one of the reasons maybe you haven't heard any of our statements is because of what you're saying. We're trying to look at this holistically because our district is not the same as other people's districts. And we know the benefit that we have from our immigrant and refugee population. We know that our community is better for it. And we know that you know, I didn't sleep for 2 nights straight. And if you read the emails that were sent to me, you would have a hard time not saying some of the things that you're hearing online. And so we're doing what we can because we know exactly what you're saying. By reacting, because you see a lot of that, by reacting, nothing gets solved and nothing gets healed. And so we're trying our best to listen to all sides and come to a solution together instead of trying to point fingers and use it as a political punching bag, because that's never been how either one of us have worked.
And I would say that last year, from my observation, the bipartisanship that you exhibited on pension reform was outstanding. So that really helped educators in the state of Minnesota and public employees. And you need to return with integrity, and you made a large stride in that. And that was a bipartisan effort, so thank you very much for that. I'm done.
I'm gonna get off my soapbox too, but I think we are in a room full of people who want nothing more than for our students to be successful adults. And when I look at these future leaders, and they will be future leaders, I don't want them to think that this is normal, that this is the country, the state, the city they live in right now. So whatever it takes in your capacity as a representative for us, please keep these children in mind. It's imperative that these kids know what's right and wrong and what this country and state should look like. And thank you. I appreciate the work you do. It can't be easy.
Absolutely.
You worn out? You know, if you look at the last, call it 5 or 6 years, pre-COVID, COVID-19, inflation, you know, the events of the last several years, right, name it, whatever. But on a more difficult time to be in education. In one of these buildings, whether you're, you know, a teacher, a janitor, a clerical, administrator, it doesn't matter. These are difficult times to be in these buildings. Challenges every day, student behaviors, student backgrounds, cultural differences, language barriers. I mean, that's the reality. And the concern I have, and I don't expect you to answer this, but I just hope there's discussion being held about how do we retain and attract qualified teachers, professionals, people that can do the job well, who care, but they can have a wage to go home and pay the bills and live a quality of life that meets their needs, whatever that is. It's concerning to me that it's so tight today, and what is it going to look like 5 years from now? If it's tough today, what is 5 years from now going to look like? And, you know, if you look at turnover rates, somewhere between 6 and 7% pre-COVID, anywhere from 8, 9, 10%, depending on what kind of reports we're looking at today. That's concerning from a teacher standpoint. And I hope that there's work being done, legislation being discussed about how do we solve this problem, because I don't see this going away either. The truth is people are leaving the profession because they can't afford it. And that's a problem. This is the future of, you guys know, I know I'm speaking to the choir on this, but it's to me, this is why we exist here, is to do what we can, not only for the students, but the people who are delivering the daily needs for those people, again, in the lunchroom, in the front office, in the classroom, picking up the puke in the cafeteria. I mean, that's the reality, and it's hard. So, again, you don't expect to answer that, but I just hope there's some work being done on that scope of education.
Thank you. Is it Sophie? Is it Sophie?
Dan, yes. Sophie.
I'm like, oh, did I misspell saying your name? I'm sorry. But I don't think, as a person who is, I've done nothing else but be an educator. After I got elected to this position, it was weird because I've literally done nothing else but be an educator. I've been in front of students my entire adult life. Hundreds of thousands, just like you see in the audience here today, people who invest in these children. You said something very poignant that says that's why we exist, to support our students and our teachers. And we want to ensure that's how we continue to exist. The frustrations that we're seeing right now in St. Paul is that the Minnesota Department of Education is trying to co-opt your job and give you less power, even though you're the one closest to the students and the teachers. And so I want to make sure that you have fairness and flexibility in funding so that you can do and give your teachers more money. I want to do the things that fit this community, this unique and beautiful community that I am so proud to represent. And you are proud to represent because you run for election every 4 years. Like, you wouldn't run for election if you didn't care about this community. I know that. And so we want to ensure that your job still exists as an independent school and an independent school board that is uniquely qualified to incentivize transformational thinking that works in your community. We want to release those mandates. We want to make sure that you have funding and flexibility to do that. And ultimately, we want to make sure that we are attracting high-quality people here to Austin. And we know that Austin City Council has done a really good job to try to attract businesses here. And I know that Austin District has done a really good job to play up the benefits that you have here. But you're right, it's hard, it's difficult. And I don't know of another more exhausting job other than teaching. And so for me, I want nothing more than to attract more teachers. But what we're finding is that in our traditional pathways, is that we're not finding enough people. I was hired at one point in time to be a university supervisor for St. Thomas for student teachers. I never once got asked to be a university supervisor because the semester that they hired me, they didn't have any teachers to supervise. And that's a giant school that had no people for me to supervise. And that's a problem. People are not coming through it in a traditional way. So here's what I'm focused on. I'm focused on how do we find people that are already in our community, that already care about our students, that already want to be invested in education. How do we get them licensed? And how do we get them the skills that they need to get into our classrooms? Because not only do they come from different backgrounds, and therefore they're going to attract different and be able to connect with students differently, but we have the distinct possibility and privilege to get people with way different skill sets than what you just get through a normal traditional pathway. That's why I was the chief author of the teacher apprenticeship program. We have found that we have put millions of dollars to attract more and more teachers from all sorts of different backgrounds, and it's not working because the barrier isn't necessarily money, even though it is, but it's because it takes someone forever to say, hey, I'm an accountant here, but I'd love to go back and teach math. In order to do that, I have to go all the way back to the beginning and have to go through 4 years of school and do this, but I don't do that. And then student teaching costs me an arm and a leg because not only do I have to teach for 8, 12, whatever weeks, but I pay someone to do a job that I should be paid for. And when we try to pay someone, try to give payment to student teachers, the colleges said, oh, you got more money? Okay, we'll give you less scholarship money. Okay, that's not what that was for. Let's try this again. And so that's why I've been the chief author of the chief instigator of what does student teaching look like? How do we pay a person to student teach? How do we connect them with mentor teachers that also get paid? So those are the things that I'm working on because I am there. I die on this hill. Like there's very few hills that I die on. Education's one of them. I die on this hill. And so you have a direct advocate with me anytime you want to talk. Sorry, Senator.
Anybody else have questions? Carol does.
First, I want to thank you both for being here, being so raw and honest with us. That's nice. Thank you, Cece, for bringing up the question that was on my list, and thank you for your answers. I had an unemployment question that Don covered, so I'm going to take the Minnesota paid leave. Senator Dornick, unless I wrote this down wrong, you had said that 18,000 applicants had already applied. Do you feel that the program is sustainable as it is?
Thank you for the question. At this rate, no. They figured I think 130,000 per year. They funded it with 675 or 80 million. What they and the $19 billion surplus, where part of that go, that was they funded. Yeah, they seeded the program with that money, and it's as it went through the process, we were trying to get some exemptions for especially small businesses and those that are already doing it. So at this rate, no, I don't think it will be sustainable. We'll have to wait and see. Is it going to slow down? Yeah, I don't know yet. I think nobody knows. And that's why Republicans didn't vote for it, because not because we don't support paid family leave and for those that need it, right? It wasn't that. It was so generous. We want to make sure that it works. And some of the small businesses are so frustrated that they might not be around. And so that's not the intent. I don't believe that's what they wanted. I think as they were going through, they their intents were good. I'm not gonna say their intentions weren't good, but you can't just have this, it's very generous, it's too generous, so. We're gonna have to make some fixes, but it's gonna have to be from, we're gonna have to work together, and that's, it'll be interesting to see, and again, as I mentioned earlier, the gentleman and I, or the Democrat that I worked with in the Labor and Industry Committee, I'm hopeful, but I don't know, it's, I guess that's, we'll have to wait and see, but businesses, schools, they're, just keep on pressing. That's how it changes, is outcry from the people to, hey, this is a concern, and there is a big concern. That's probably number one on my email is paid family leave, or if I go out and somebody recommends me, a business owner, they want to know what's going on. A lot of them have blindsided too, and we gotta, let's do that. So,
I don't think, what the senator said, but it was originally actuarially was estimated to be about $130,000 a year. And that's why they set the 50-50 pay, the payroll tax at 0.88 divided by 2. So 0.44, 0.44. But if the rate continued, that would be about 10,000 each month to make it be solvent at that point. If it continues at 17,000, which we saw in 18-17, which in the first 7 days it was 17,000. If that continues at that rate, it will not be remain solvent. Now there is some leverage that Dolly has, where Department of Labor has which is the payroll tax can be increased up to 1.1 without any legislative approval. And so that was negotiated in the original language. And so if it continues to seeing this rate, they are going to have to increase that, which will then of course increase your payroll tax at that point in time. We're already hearing about how difficult that businesses are trying to manage this. Not, again, to kind of echo what the senator said, not that they don't want to offer it, but that it's this type of the breadth of it is so unmanageable at this point. They wanted to know how come we just couldn't start phase in with just maternity leave at like 12 weeks or something? How are we going to do 0 to all of it right now? And so that was a huge concern. And so we have some ideas about how we can make sure that there's more safeguards around the definition of family. Also looking at how can we, if you are a part of a union that also negotiates contracts, to ensure that you guys are very transparent about what this means. I've talked to people who are a part of union contracts and just saying, hey, whatever you guys decide to negotiate, like just understand that paid family leave literally leaves you with 1% to 1.5% less. So sure, you negotiated that, but after payroll tax, you're going to be at least 1.5% less of that. So just be aware of that. And so we are trying hard to make sure that there's a lot of transparency with it as well. And more communication between the job creator and the employee.
I was just going to say that, people are getting requests in these businesses and are concerned, which you guys will do. It's like, how do you place those workers? And, they're gone for 6 to 8 weeks, and then all of a sudden, well, we need to fill in we only need you for 6 to 8 weeks, we train you, and
then they're also set for paid family leave.
and then dispatcher, some of these specialty things that people are, so they're running into things, and then I was just talking to a banker, just their station, or they're in Iowa, and they have Minnesota, and just how they didn't get direction, so this was rushed through and just not thought out. So I actually tried to pause it last year. We tried to say, okay, let's pause it, let's get the bugs worked out, kind of work together, and there was no, we're gonna go for it, and so that's
it was very clear that there was no willingness to negotiate on this at all. The only response that we had when we kept bringing in businesses and counties and school boards and stuff was, you are taking away a benefit that these people rightly deserve. And we kept saying, well, number one, they don't have it yet, so wait. But number two, when they don't have a job, they also won't have it yet. And so we're trying for them to understand that we don't disagree with the idea of doing this. We're trying to make it manageable so that people can still be in business and be the job creator that they wanted to be in business.
Just one quick follow-up to this. You mentioned that legislature can raise the 0.88 to 1.1%. Would that continue to be a 50-50 split then, or is that not decided in the legislature?
Currently, unless you know more, it is not in statute to be 50-50. It's understood to be 50-50, but that was something that we in the House, we wanted it to be spelled out very clearly. This is to be a 50-50 share, but as of right now, unless I miss it, it is not statutorily required to be 50-50.
So we don't know that increase, how that would be distributed then?
It is, no. I don't know. No.
All right, I'm gonna wrap up our session with one request. Share with us one positive thing that you are excited to work on this year for Austin, Minnesota.
Well, I'm just gonna be real quick, because it's, the Hormone students have had requests for quite some time, and that probably is something I'm most excited about. We've been there many years, you know, we just got turned down, but I'm real hopeful this year, so I'm excited that we have an opportunity to have bonding, and that would be exciting to get that in the bonding bill.
Yeah, I think that originally, because of the nature of the legislative session and it being binding in policy, I'm really hopeful for the Bioimaging Center as well. And with that education component, that's the part that I'm like uber excited about, because I see how it already, you know, works in our community and how exciting that is. I do know that probably not something that can be done this year, which is so frustrating, but farm is something that could be a really amazing added benefit to our community as well, as we look at the partnerships that we have with Hormone Institute, with Riverland, you guys, and U of M. I think that it could be a really amazing training ground that we could see. Still kind of getting people on board with all of that, but that could be really interesting.
Great. Well, do you have anything else you need to say?
No, so I want to say thank you very much for accepting our invitation to be with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you both for the time. This was time very well spent for us. We're thankful for your candidness and your willingness to answer some hard questions and maybe some lighter questions. We know that it's hard work, and we're thankful for the time and effort that you put into it, so we appreciate it.
Thank you for your work, and we see your passion. Please get better. Oh my goodness.
Thank you all.
Ship down this way. I can't wait.
Right. Our next agenda item. Oh, Sharon, can you turn the mic off? Voice needs to go back up on the podium anyway. Thank you. All right, we're going to keep going with our superintendent's report.
First of all, tonight you're going to hear from Christy Beckman, who is our Achievement and Integration Coordinator. And I just want to frame up this a little bit. Her update really matters. The Minnesota Achievement and Integration work isn't about reports that sit on the shelf. It's how we make sure our students' race and income and background never limits what they can achieve in the Austin Public Schools. And it's about stronger instruction, broader opportunity, and closing gaps that have held students back. And Chrissy's going to walk us through how that work is happening right here across APS. How our teams are aligning, how supports are tightening, and how more students are seeing doors open to them. So this is just a short version, but the work is real, it's focused, and it's moving our district in the right direction. So I'm excited for her report tonight. And again, I just want to thank Senator Dornick and Representative Mueller for them being here tonight, connecting with us, and seeing all the work that is happening here impacts our students and our families and caregivers. A few things around the school district. Ellis Middle School Math League team earned its first place in their division, and the entire team placed in the top 10 for individual scorers. And that takes real preparation, teamwork, and some serious problem solving. So I want to congratulate them. Congratulations to Cole Hebrink for reaching his 1,000th point last week in Northfield. It's a career milestone that reflects consistency and effort over time. I want to acknowledge also Miriam Diego Lopez and Bella Rosenthal as our Rotary Students of the Month. That honor reflects both leadership and character, and we're very proud of them. You may have seen as we were coming out of the break, Ethan Wyken was the ABC News Excellent Educator of the Month. And if you saw the clip, the video on that, if Ellis were a song, Ethan's band room would be the chorus. In 9 years, he has taught a large number of new musicians, now filling our high school orchestra and band. And what stands out most isn't just the music, it's the way he makes sure every student belongs. So if you haven't had a chance yet to see that interview with them, it is excellent. We also have 2 teachers in Austin Public Schools that are nominees for our career path, for this STEM Outstanding Educator Award for 25-26, and that's Jane Carlson and Andrea Keegan. This honor that they're up for is driven by student achievement and leading improvement and promoting STEM careers and building strong partnerships with businesses like the Mayo Clinic, IBM, the Hormel Institute, and so forth. So we will have their ceremony for this will take place in February, so stay tuned. We'll have some more information about that. I also want to recognize an event happening later this week. The Minnesota School Boards Association Leadership Conference is underway this week. We will have APS staff and students presenting in multiple sessions. That means what's happening in Austin is strong enough that others want to learn from it. I'm really excited about that. And, well, as I said, we're going to have some of our students telling part of our story up there. So that's really exciting. Next week, January 19th through 25th, is Paraprofessional Recognition Week in Minnesota. I just want to acknowledge them and highlight their important work in our schools, supporting students, strengthening learning, and helping every day run smoothly. We're grateful for what they do each and every day. And I just want to end with this, and thanking all of our staff. The steady and the student-centered work our staff does every day is what matters. It's very important. They make it all possible. And a lot of it happens behind the scenes, and planning and checking in on kids and building relationships and solving problems before they grow. It matters deeply, and our students and families and caregivers are well served. So I just want to thank you to our staff and our community for their trust and partnership. Thanks.
And we're in semester number 2. Can you believe it?
Yes, I can. Might be a good question for our student board members, but they can believe it.
Is the STEM Educator of the Year, is that hosted by Southeastern?
Southeastern, yes.
And Emily Howland earned that honor a couple years ago, didn't she?
Correct.
Yeah, so let's hope.
Yeah, we have very great nominees and other educators from surrounding districts.
Yep. Okay, thanks.
Alright. School board reports. A lot of talking already, but everybody's got something to share.
I would just like to quickly thank Mr. Shara and Dr. G at Ellis. Cece and I had the opportunity to visit Ellis last week, 2 weeks ago. Ask questions, great visit, see the school. Just want to thank them for their hospitality.
Awesome. I have a semi-official
board report for the Austin Public Ed Foundation. Just saying, hey teachers, the application window is open. Get your grant requests in to the foundation by March 3rd. New-ish now, I suppose a few months in. Tim Ruzek recently took on the role of being the executive director for the foundation, and he is ready to talk to all of our teachers about what kind of cool things they can get for their classrooms. As long as they run them by Amy Goosen first, right?
If they plug into a wall, yep.
Yeah. And put on your calendar, the Packer Classic is going to be on Monday, July 13th. We have a board meeting that has been moved to the 14th, specifically to accommodate that. So get your teams together. Information is coming out.
Carolyn, when you say teachers, it's teachers, administrators.
So yes, teachers and coaches are the primary audience that we're looking for, but we also have grants available to administrators that can benefit their entire building. So teachers are the number one. We want to make sure that they're getting cool things for their classrooms across the district. We want to make sure that they're thinking outside the box, not what you would typically get. Don't shoot for the basics. Shoot for that podcast studio, or gosh, there's some really cool things out there right now. 3D printers are out there, and there's just some really neat things that have been purchased over the years that it's just one more reason Austin Public Schools has it is a great place for kids to learn, because our teachers think about creative ways to reach them. So, yeah.
I can speak of a teacher I know over at Southgate that put in for some
Yes, you did.
kitchen things for students to play with. And it's awesome. So, as a matter of fact, she's so proactive, she's planning for next year already. So, she's probably going to sing to you. But, yeah, it's a good program, and those kids learn how to cook.
That's great.
They're cooking.
That's a really nice way to emphasize ladies learning too. I like it. All right. Anybody else have a report, Bob?
All right. I just wanted to call out and talk to a couple other parents from my son's age at IJ, and we also toured IJ about 3 weeks ago, I want to say. And the offerings that we have at the elementary level for the arts, for plays, musicals, choir, band, orchestra. If Dewey Shar was here, he might try to take credit for instilling that message, because I've heard it a number of times for him. But it is amazing what this district offers at such a young level, and so I just want to call that out. That it's just an awesome offering. I also wanted to thank Dr. Page and our admin staff. With all the trying times we have right now and everything that's going on, I'd like to thank you guys for keeping us updated. And then also for the guidance and support that you provide to all of our schools and our staff. With everything going on, it's a steady hand. You guys are doing a really good job of keeping all of our staff in your thoughts and letting them know that they have support in this district. So.
I would like to thank Dr. Page too. You've done an amazing job, I think, getting communications out to bring it closer. Okay. Anyway, thank you, Dr. Page. And I just wanted to welcome back all the students and staff. I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday break. And to kick off my holiday season, I attended the holiday concert at Austin High School on December 15th, and I just wanted to thank everyone who worked behind the scenes to make that concert a success, because it was phenomenal, as always. Special thank you to our talented directors, Mr. Scott, Mr. Dundas, Mr. Ackerman, and all the students for a phenomenal performance.
Well, since you're saying nice things about people tonight, I just like to, is that the Packer Spotlight where somebody does an audio? I listened to the last Packer Spotlight. I'm not going to say what it was about, but it was indicative of all the other ones. And we just want to say that Ryan does such a great job of asking open-ended questions and just letting the person just talk, and then he takes something that the individual said and then loops around and asks another question. So they're really interesting spotlights, and a big portion of that is credit to you, Ryan. I know you don't like to have your name brought up. That's why I'm doing it. But you do a real nice job. And I was the victim of one of your interrogations, and it was good. Thank you.
All right, anybody else? All right, we're gonna move on to our student representative reports with Michael Geary and Lydia Masara. Looks like we got Lydia up first.
Dear Chairperson Dubay and members of the board, I would like to begin this report by congratulating Jane Carlson on her nomination for the 2025-2026 Outstanding Educator Award. As a student in Austin High School, I can confidently say that I've been impacted personally by the amount of hard work and dedication that she puts into our district. Ms. Carlson is always available and ready to help, especially when I have questions about future career choices or life outside of high school. She's always there, and she's always ready to help. I would also like to congratulate Jacqueline Hernandez Ramirez for winning the Voice of Democracy essay contest. Additionally, I'd like to extend my congratulations to Miriam and Bella for their achievements of being AHS Rotary Students of the Month. Last Friday, the DECA Club at our school traveled to Owatonna to compete at the district level competition. Around 13 students have advanced to the state level competition, where they will continue to compete. The speech season is also about to begin. Our first competition will take place on January 24th at Orono High School in the Twin Cities. This competition is a NITOC bid, meaning that students who place first or third earn a bid to compete at the national level. And because of this, the competition is expected to be very intense. I would also like to encourage the board and community members to attend Murder on the Orient Express, the community theater at Riverland. Students receive free admission, but adult tickets are $15. This production supports community theater and showcases actually two AHS students, Moira Boyd and Ashton Strampede. Right before winter break, Student Council hosted Winter Week, which included dress-up days, games during lunch, and hot cocoa for students to enjoy before break. That concludes my report. Thank you for your time, and any questions?
How many students submitted Voice of Democracy essay, do you know?
I don't think I know, but I think a good amount. I think it's a national contest, so she did really good by it.
Yeah, that's really a good initiative.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And Ms. Carlson actually is like one of the spearheads who like sends out like these information to students. So she sent out like an email push letting people know about scholarships and like essay contests they can do to help with their college or like life outside of high school. And that's just another example of like all the hard work that she puts into our district.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks, Lydia. Thank you so much. All right, Michael, you're up.
Dear Superintendent, Chairperson Dubay, Superintendent Page, and members of the school board, I'll be presenting the second half of the student report. To begin, I'd like to recognize Cole Hebring, for reaching a 1,000-point milestone in his high school basketball career. This is a significant achievement that reflects years of dedication and hard work. I played basketball with Cole up until 7th grade, and when I tell you I thought he was crazy for shooting threes in the 4th grade, that's what I would have told you. But now, this learning paid off, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for him. The boys basketball team continues to play well and represent Austin High School with strong effort, teamwork, and sportsmanship. In fine arts, the choir program wrapped up the Christmas season, as well as the other arts. With its final performance, the holiday concert showcased the talent, commitment, and preparation of our students and directors as they continue to be a point of pride for our school community and the holiday season. As the semester comes to a close, I would like to take a moment to thank our teachers and staff for a strong and successful semester. Their support, patience, and dedication plays a major role in student success, and it's appreciated across all grade levels. I would also like to recognize the excellence within the district. Ellis Middle School Director Ethan Whitekin, who was recently named the KAL Excellent Educator. Mr. Whitekin I had at IJ, and he's also recently impacted us as he helps the high school programs, and he played in the holiday concert, and is always willing to help out, give extra lessons, and put in that extra step. In addition, the National Honor Society has actively been involved in community service this holiday season. NHS students created and delivered Christmas cards to local nursing home residents, helping spread kindness and connection during the holiday. This project reflects our students' commitment to serve and making a positive impact. The other thing I would like to highlight and say thank you to is your guys' commitment to spreading information about what's going on recently. It's hard. A personal thing that impacted me and my team is on Friday, when all those videos and social media posts were going on, 20 of our 24 wrestlers showed up to the event that day. And one of them had to beg his mom to let him come and bring identification with him. This has a real impact on our community, and I thank you guys for doing what you can to support these students and letting them feel safe in our district. That's all. Any questions?
It's your last semester. How are you feeling about that?
It's exciting and scary. That's how I'd say how I feel about
it. And you survived Christmas season.
I did.
With Austin Airs.
It was very busy, but I made it. It's a bittersweet feeling to be done with that as well. Yeah. For now.
Yeah. We got the show coming up, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And NMEA.
Yup, NMEA is, I think it's mid-February.
Right. Do either of you know anything about the CEO class business coming up?
I know it's a game show night at the Paramount. Part of the details on that I do not know.
So, just start spreading the word, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else have questions for him? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. The next agenda item is our consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Bob, second by Peggy. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Our next agenda item is our overview and the request for approval of our 3-year achievement and integration plan with our equity coordinator, Christy Beckman. Welcome, Christy.
Thank you, Chairperson Fay, Superintendent Page, members of the board. I do have a couple slides, so I'm going to try to. Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson Fay, Superintendent Page, members of the board. I do have a couple slides, so I'm going to try to connect and share these. I think the slides will help me be more concise and quicker, not longer. So, but I might need to. I just have flashing white. It'll take a second.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay. So we're currently wrapping up our 3-year integration plan. We're in the final year. And I provided a progress report about that. And I want to share a little bit with you about the outcomes of our current 3-year plan, because we've had a lot of great success, and I'm really proud of the work that our team has done to help make that happen. And that is not without the support of everyone present in this room. I really appreciate your dedication to equity efforts in Austin. I was really touched to hear you discussing earlier. It really means a lot to have the support of district leadership and the board of our programs. And thank you, Dr. Page, for your commitment to this plan too. So this is a really critical part of our strategic plan. I think that integration and equity touches on all of our strategic priorities, but I think especially this week, creating a safe and welcoming learning environment is absolutely one of the things that our integration strategies help make possible in Austin. So the efforts that you're going to hear about are really aligned to what we're doing in all of our strategic priorities, and it's part of the work that everyone does, not just the people whose salaries are funded by this revenue. We have 4 goals in our integration and achievement progress report and in our upcoming plan. We're required to have an integration goal that helps to connect students from our neighboring districts with Austin Public Schools in order to help achieve racial integration. We also have an achievement goal, a teacher equity goal, and we have a goal focused on supporting our Native American Parent Advisory Committee. And so we'll be changing those goals a little bit, but we're not recommending any big changes to our strategies for the upcoming year, and I'll talk about that a little bit. Our integration goal is really to use the STEM integration strategies that we have developed with our partnering schools to help give diverse and integrated students an opportunity to explore career pathways and pursue life beyond our public schools, whether they choose to pursue college or careers. And so we have been working to help those students feel connected to each other through projects like Project eCubed, which is a summer science and environmental science and engineering program for students in 4th and 5th grades. Discover Drones, which is a camp that is hosted in Albert Lea for students who want to learn more about how to fly drones and all the career applications for that. And then our robotics program that we've been working with Southland on. We are on track to meet our goal of having 90% of our students tell us that they can identify career pathways related to those programs. And so I'm very confident that we can achieve that by the final year of our program this year. Our achievement goal was to increase the graduation rate for Black and African American students. In 2021, the baseline for that population was 75%, and we wanted to increase it to 80%. We've exceeded that and have met an 84.9% graduation rate for our Black and African American students, which is incredibly exciting, and we're really proud of their success. That is really thanks to the work of everyone in our district, but our programs like our success coaches who provide language support, mentorship, family engagement connections, community resource connections to our families are a really key component of what makes that work. Our Young Scholars program starts helping students from kindergarten through 4th grade to develop critical thinking skills and push themselves to achieve at more intensive levels of critical thinking. And then our Be Your Best program helps students transitioning to college to build some skills to help them be more successful when they get to college and start to earn some college credits. So those are all programs that have helped us to achieve those achievement goals. Our teacher equity goal, our data metric that we used for our teacher equity goal was student responses to the Minnesota Student Survey. We really want to build a diverse teaching force here in our community that reflects the student body that we have in our schools. And our Future Teacher Club and some of the things that we're doing are really helping to increase engagement with our students who are interested in pursuing education as a profession. But that's not the only way that we help students feel safe and engaged at school. And so the student survey responses really help us
help to inform us about whether our students feel safe with all the adults who care about them in the building, regardless of their racial and ethnic background. And so we use the student survey responses to questions like, do adults at my school treat students fairly, listen to the students, are they interested in me as a person? And we gathered their responses to those. Unfortunately, we haven't seen a lot of movement. The responses have been fairly similar. And this is a survey instrument that's only given every 3 years. So it's difficult to use this as a metric because it's not local. Some of the questions are worded a little bit awkwardly. Like if I was a high school student, I'm not sure I would say that most teachers at Austin High School are interested in me as a person because most of them might not know me if they don't have me in their classes. And that might not be an indictment of the teachers caring about them, but they just might not know them as a person. So student interpretation of those questions might impact those responses too. So as we transition to our new plan, we're going to use our BAR survey, which asks some similar questions, but we have a little bit more local control over it, and we'll have data for that on a yearly basis, so it'll help us keep track of our progress in a more frequent way. Our final goal in our Achievement Integration Plan is our American Indian Parent Advisory Committee. The state has called this an AIPAC, AIEPAC. Our local committee voted to be called a NAPAC, Native American Parent Advisory Committee. So we'll use that acronym for them. But our goal was just to create an APAC. We didn't have an APAC when we started our prior 3-year integration plan, and now we have an incredibly robust, thriving committee that meets monthly as a business meeting. They meet monthly to create regalia, to help teach students how to do things like beading and leatherworking and smudging and all of the elements that are part of their cultural learning that they weren't able to practice for many years. So we have an incredibly robust and dynamic group that has a space in the district to host cultural events. They just had their 3rd plan and budget approved by the state. They had 2 high school students attend a national conference in Minneapolis that they were able to partner with Mayo Clinic and receive grant funds for because of the connections that they've already built in the community and with neighboring districts. So it's a really incredible group that's doing a lot to revitalize the Native American experience for students in our schools. And we're going to continue supporting that with our new plan. So the new plan will continue to focus on those same strategies. We will continue with the same goal for integration, focusing on college and career readiness through our integrated strategies. We are going to shift our achievement focus, since we met our graduation goal for our Black and African American students, to focusing on one of the data points that I think we need to pay attention to, which is the consistent attendance for our Hawaiian Pacific Islander students. It's one of our data points that is a lower number, and we really want to focus on helping reduce barriers so that those students can achieve at high levels in our schools. So that is one of the we're going to continue using many of the same strategies that we have been using. We're also adding a family engagement specialist to help with that. We were able to convince Lauren Van Vogt to join our team, and she's an incredible asset to the community with incredible resources and networking connections in the community to help support families as they're onboarded into the district to learn more about our processes, what they need to do to be successful. How many credits do you need to graduate? What is the system like? It's very different from other places that people might be coming from, so helping with some purposeful onboarding. We'll continue to support 16 full-time success coaches, but we're going to shift how they function just a tiny bit. So in addition to providing communication and connections, we're starting to build more communication tools to help people connect with families directly. And that tool is called Talking Points. Talking Points is a 2-way text messaging tool that has a built-in translation feature. So it's a great tool for all families, especially people who just prefer a quick text. It overcomes a lot of barriers, not just language support. But that really helps increase the success coach's ability to connect with families. It increases our staff's ability to connect with people directly and not have to wait for an intermediary to help them with that language support.
And I've seen a lot of success in teachers being able to help reach out to parents and say, hey, your child's not passing my class, but if they stay over after Thursday to take this assessment they're missing, they could get a passing grade for the semester. And just making those little connections has been really positive. It's been a really positive way for people to give positive feedback very quickly. So I'm really excited about Talking Points as a tool to help support our success coaches so they can do more mentorship of students and more of the deeper cultural liaison work. And maybe a little bit less of the kind of tier 1 communication, things like attendance and those things. We'll continue to support young scholars and be your best. Our teacher equity goal will stay the same, but we will identify questions from the BAR student survey that still get at the idea of, do teachers care about me? Am I heard? Does my voice matter in the schools? And then we do also have a goal focused on our NAPAC and supporting our American Indian efforts. They really want to help reach out more to the community and share more information and engagement with the community so that people can learn about Native American issues and culture. And they can do that through integration, since the American Indian funding must be spent exclusively on American Indian identified students. So we have a pretty robust partnership to help expand the impact of their work. And that is all I have prepared to share with you, but I would be happy to answer any questions. I do have to ask you to vote to approve the plan if that is what you wish, but I would be happy to entertain any questions.
So do the questions before or after the
Let's take a
resolution?
motion.
Pardon me?
Let's do a motion to approve, and then we can have questions. So is there a motion to approve the 26-27 through 28-29 Austin Achievement and Integration Plan?
So,
Motion by Don, second by Carol. Conversation, questions?
Christy, can I ask you, the reference to the black African-American students, 75%, was that attendance or graduation?
That was graduation rate.
It was graduation. Can you talk about that statistic about Hawaiian Pacific Islander consistently attending school go from 39.6%?
Yeah, the current rate of consistent attendance, so 90% attendance or more, is 39.6% for our Pacific Islander students. It's a very big cultural difference in the United States for our Pacific Islander population. Without making too many generalizations, it's a very big cultural difference. Family is the most important thing in Pacific Islander culture, and so if there is a funeral, if someone is sick, people really come together and support each other, and sometimes I think that impacts student attendance. And so we're trying to find ways to help engage our students, but also understand those cultural differences and make sure that they have everything they need to be successful at school. So we're gonna focus on that as our metric and hope to improve that with some targeted interventions, support from our success coach team, support in terms of mentorship and check and connect and all of those pieces that we can offer.
This might seem a naive question, but can you graduate high school with a 39% attendance rate percentage?
I'm sure in theory you could.
Okay.
If you were here on assessment days, probably. I'm sure it's possible, but I think that students absolutely do benefit from the fantastic instruction that they get from teachers in classes, and they're much more likely to be successful if they're here. So that has been a district priority this year, and that's why we've been shifting from graduation to attendance. Attendance has been one of the major focuses of the district this year. The attendance task force is something that I've joined to help try to engage in that work too, because our students do better when they're here. So,
Can I ask you about the student satisfaction questions, number 3 specifically, about most teachers, and you expressed the problem with that verbiage. I mean, could you just say my teacher, parentheses, S, and parentheses, and personalize it?
I think it would have been a better question. We're going to choose questions that are less ambiguous when we choose our questions for the upcoming plan.
Then if you're teaching social at the high school and you have 35 students that go in your classes, it's really difficult to connect with every student. But it's really sometimes hard to get number 38 or 35, or it's just difficult. It just is. It's not something you ever want to stop trying to do, but
I think it's really important that we continue to work as hard as we can to build those relationships, and I think that our teachers and our staff do an incredible job of that, and I hope that our success coaches are a resource that helps teachers connect with students across cultural barriers and help promote that mutual understanding and help create those connections so that everyone feels welcome and safe and heard.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, does anybody else have questions or comments? All right. All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Carry on with the good work.
Thank you for your support.
All right, our next agenda item is the request for the approval of a contract for copier purchases with Executive Director of Finance and Operations, Todd Lechtenberg, and Director of Technology, Amy Houston.
Get started here. Whoops. Good evening, Chairperson today, Dr. Page and the school board. We're in front of you tonight to go through our copier plan here. So in the past, we had a lease with Metro Sales. That lease came up roughly February of 2024, as I'm looking at the dates, or going through the dates in my head, and that was roughly right around when I had started. So we had extended that for 2 years so we could take a look at our copiers on site, look at where we had them located, wanted to take a look at, we had paper cut was in its first phase. So I'm gonna have Amy walk through the phases of paper cut, and then I will come back and go through the financial, walk through the contracts that we had worked through with our lawyers, and then come back with the financials.
So good evening, Chair DeBay, Dr. Page, and members of the board. I would like to share with you the process of our paper cut initiative and how the copier purchase proposal is couched in that. We are moving from phase 2 to phase 3 in our paper cut initiative as we move through the change in our lease with Metro Sales. So as we have approached this project, we obviously have taken close consideration of our core values and strategic priorities. By and large, this is a project that falls under the responsible use of district resources. However, as many of you know, people use copy machines for a variety of things, and teachers, even though are probably the most likely to be using copy machines and printers in the district, these tools and these technologies really support the work that's done by all staff in the district. And ultimately, we want to make sure that as we move towards the new plan, whether it's purchase or lease, we're responsible to the district as a whole. So in terms of students, students are obviously impacted by this. We want to make sure that they get to learn in a variety of ways. And I know that might sound surprising to you coming from the tech director, but technology isn't always the best way to learn. So we need to make sure that we have access to paper materials at many times where that is actually the best way to learn. In terms of our families, they want to know that their students are challenged with a variety of methods of learning, which falls under using technology and non-technology resources. And a lot of times, paper resources are where it gets fun and interactive. And then lastly, we want to make sure our teachers have good and equitable access to the resources that they need to do their job. And some of those resources involve printers and copiers. So part of our district operational plan is the paper cut initiative. And I wanted to talk to you about the phases so you know where this proposal lands. In phase 1, starting in about 2023, we instituted or implemented a tool called Follow Me Printing. This allows a teacher or a staff member to send a print job from their device, and pick that print job up at any copy machine in the district. All they have to do is tap their ID card, they're logged into the copy machine, and regardless of whether they show up in the teacher's lounge or in the media center, their print and copy is waiting for them. That has been pretty instrumental in just kind of helping us to streamline how teachers access printed materials. And it also has really reflected, it's helped us reflect on, I should say, where these devices are and how much they're being used. We've seen a pretty interesting change in volume and placement of devices. And then we, through this same tool, have been able to gather really granular data on copier and print usage, volume, and costs, all of that data has been used then to help us move into phase 2 and 3. Phase 2 is where we started at the beginning of this year, this fall. We did and conducted an inventory of all printers and copiers in the district. And by that, I mean we went to every single building and every single room to make sure that we knew exactly where all of our equipment was. And that was a pretty arduous task. We conducted a lot of it over MEA break because people weren't in the buildings and we didn't want to disrupt classroom work. And then phase 2, second part, would be to, upon our current lease expiration, transition to the state contract, which is not something we've utilized in the past, and standardize equipment across our district. And then finally, phase 3 would start this spring, where we transition from monitoring to manage print budgets and support responsible and intentional printing. So phase 2, like I said, we are in the midst of that right now. In October of 25, we did closing and site walkthroughs. We made note of every location of every device, how much printing it does, the volume, and the location. In November and December, we established the state copier contract under our current lease partner, Metro Sales. The state copier contract allows schools to get really consistent pricing on their print costs, which is going to really help us a lot. And then we also conducted an evaluation of current equipment locations, user ratios, and features, making sure everything was where it should be, and we were getting the right devices. So when I say that, I mean we're not getting a printer that can print, hundreds of thousands of copies in a location where we can see that it's not being used as much. We want to make sure we're buying the right copier for the right usage. December and January, we developed site plans and selected replacement equipment. And we are here requesting the approval for a purchase. And then in February 26th, if that approval goes through, we will begin our equipment transition, which is a large project. We have a variety of printers and copiers in the district, and they're big. So Todd is going to talk now about the 4 different options we faced, 2 options under a lease proposal and 2 options under a purchase proposal.
Thank you, Amy. I want to go back to the one thing Amy said about the state contract. With Metro Sales being under the state contract, they've already gone out and did the bidding for us. So normally in a project this size, we would be required to do our RFP, a request for proposal, or a request for quote, and submit it out to 3 vendors, go through an interviewing process, have them come back, and that would extend this process. We would have to start this process back in November, bring in the technology department, the finance department, and extend this out. By Metro Sales already being on the state contract, they've done all that work. And they've got the best bid, the best contract, the best price for this equipment for us already. So we went through that. They submitted the paperwork to us. We submitted that to the lawyers. The lawyers reviewed it. We went back and forth for a little bit just to ensure we had everything in place before we brought this to you. So the first thing we always look at is lease. That's what Austin has done in the past, where we would lease this equipment. When we say new equipment, that means we take everything we currently have in place, we take it out at the end of January, and we bring brand new equipment back in. That's what the equipment number is. That would be $320,340. So that would be for 60 months. So all these numbers you're seeing here for 60 months, because that's what a lease contract is. The management is the print, the toner, maintenance, and all that. So we would have a 60-month maintenance contract on those. So for us to lease brand new equipment, it would be about $480,000. That'd be an increase of about $9,000 over, I forgot, cameras in front of me, I should be on that side. That would be an increase of about $9,000 over what we're paying right now over 60 months. Mixed equipment, what that means is what we did was we took a look at the equipment we currently have in place and looked at what, what's the best way? What we can still use, I'm looking for the technology, the how many copies, the count on it, and ones that we haven't used very much, we move it to other areas and we use that equipment in different places. That's what mixed equipment rental means. By us doing the lease, that would cost us about $287,595. The management does not change on any of these options, so the 60-month total cost would be about $448,000. You have savings of about $23,625. Now we move over to the right. The purchase option is we purchase these outright. With copiers, the copier company has to maintain these for 7 years after they stop production of the machines. So that was a question we asked Metro Sales in the meeting, and they informed us that the machines we would be purchasing have about another 2-year shelf life. So we'd be looking at about 9 years that these machines would have to be maintained by them. So again, we look at new equipment, it'd be the same thing. Take all equipment out, purchasing them outright would be about $278,000 for a total of about $439,000. You have a savings of about $32,000. Mixed equipment, where we keep some of the stuff we haven't got a lot of usage on. Buy some new ones, we're looking at about a total package of $398, a total savings of $72,884. So when we looked at this, we thought about it long and hard. You look at over 60 months, you look at our budget, you look at where we're not sure where the future holds with funding and enrollment, and looking at all of our things, it was hard for us not to put the proposal in front of you today, requesting us purchasing some new equipment, moving some of our current equipment around, and having a proposal of $398,000, purchasing $238,336. The maintenance management contract would come each year in the budget, so that's why the proposal in front of you is not to exceed $250,000. That's just in case, as we get this equipment being purchased, if there's just a little bit, things change a little bit. We didn't want to go exactly $238,336. So the proposal in front of you today is not to exceed $250,000. Also, part of that proposal is that $72,884 savings. We'd like to take that savings each year and allocate that over 5 years and reassign that to an assigned funds, because this equipment is going to have an end of life cycle down the road and allow us to already have a head start on replacing this equipment, because some of this equipment is got some life already used on it. So it's not going to be 9 years from now. It could be 3 years from now. It could be 4 years from now. So again, trying to be excellence in resource management, ready to get ahead of the curve and get money that that we have already planned in the budget. We're saving this. Let's get that aside in a assigned fund and set ourselves up in the future. So I went through a lot of numbers here. And then the other thing on here is anything above that 60 months would be even bigger savings, because again, we're not releasing these. So year 6, they've estimated about $135,000. Year 7, $197,000. Year 8, about $259,000. We want to set those savings up into assigned funds and continually allow the district to have this money set aside, so that when these copiers come up in the future, we've got that money set aside in a savings account, so that the ongoing budgets do not have to pay for this. I went through numbers. I'm going to pause here for a second and see if there's any questions out there.
Can you explain the term mixed equipment?
Yep, so what we did was we took a look at, I'm going to use odometer on the copiers. So we looked at how many copies have been run through the machine, and some of them have a long, useful life left in them. So we're going to take those from an area that didn't use a lot and move them to an area that could have more copiers put on it, or vice versa. So we're going to take equipment we currently are using today and just move it to another location and not replace it, because to us, it still has a long useful life left, and it would not be excellence in resource management to use one of our priorities to just buy all brand new equipment, because we still can use that machine in another location. Now let Amy add the technology.
Can you turn back to the previous slide, please?
Yep. So just to also clarify, so we currently lease this equipment through Metro Sales. Metro Sales is allowing us to then buy out the lease, and basically, kind of like when you choose at the end of a car lease, do you wanna buy it out or do you wanna release? We're choosing to buy the devices from them at a used cost, which they were used by us. So we can feel confident that we're getting machines that have already been in our district.
Right here? Yep.
Is rental another word for lease?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, rental and lease are the same thing, in this case.
So the equipment now we're leasing, that's older then, so the suggestion is, or the proposal is to buy that. And so say, how old is this equipment?
I would say the vast majority of the equipment that we will be keeping is no more than 2 to 3 years old.
Okay, so
They're current models. They've been purchased, I would say mostly at the secondary levels are the newer equipment. And then the elementary levels seem to have a higher concentration of the older equipment that is no longer, a current model that we would be replacing with an updated model.
So you had said that for the new equipment, we have like 9 years for the maintenance.
Potentially, up to 9 years. So, like Todd said earlier, when you buy new equipment, you have a certain window of time that it'll be maintained by Metro Sales, and Metro Sales, or any copier company for that matter, must continue to support that equipment for 7 years after the equipment goes, what we call in the tech world, end of life. So end of production. And then it is still supported. So we can't be caught off guard by, oh, this company, made this device a brand new model, and so sorry, we can't help you. They, guarantee that we will still get 7 years of support out of Metro Sales. If it breaks down, if it needs a part, etc.
Okay. So we wouldn't have any concern that the part would be obsolete?
No, correct. Yep, correct. Yep, they need to keep producing the part for that 7 years after the model goes into play.
Perfect, thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the contract? Yep.
So, I don't think people are gonna think I'm digressing here, but I'm not, I don't think. I recently read for about the 5th time Mary Shelley's novel, Frankenstein. And I'm not gonna use the word monster, but I'm gonna use the word, let's call it entity.
He wasn't a monster.
What?
He wasn't.
Well, anyway, I'm gonna use the word entity. And Dr. Frankenstein created an entity that he lost control of. And so let me just kind of say that technology became a really, really important thing. And maybe 7 to 8 years ago, we thought technology was the end all for everything. And I'm glad to hear you say that there are times where technology is important and there's times where paper is important. Can I suggest that 7 or 8, when technology maybe was at the end all period, that maybe the copying machine was used less than it is now? Is it being used more now than it was 5 or 6 years ago? Your data, does it suggest any kind of trend?
It's interesting, yes, because the data suggests that there really has not been a change in the amount of machine use in the last 5 to 7 years. And that could be from a variety of reasons. I know I kind of made the assumption too that we use copies a lot less. I think we overestimate sometimes how much technology is needed, like I said earlier. And I think we also have old habits that die hard, right? We have materials that we want to keep using, and those materials don't necessarily transition to online versions, and so we continue, reproducing those materials with the older technology, such as copy machines. I do want to also share with you that as we have built this plan, we're not replacing everything one-to-one. We are reducing the number of copy machines in the district and equipment in the district. So I think that's important to note too, is that because we're able to optimize where things are and how much copying is done, we can actually reduce the number of big copy machines. And so I do want to share that we will be having a color copy machine at every site from this point forward. And although that seems like it wouldn't have much impact, one thing it will impact is that many buildings purchase these standalone printers that can print color for things that are needed in the office, newsletters, for things that are needed by special services like manipulatives. And that toner is incredibly expensive when it is compared to the color and black and white toner that is used in a large copy machine. So we're hoping that by putting a color copy machine in every building, we can actually reduce the number of smaller devices that we have throughout the district, which are higher in management costs, higher in toner costs. We're also eliminating some copiers. The district office itself is going down from 5 to 2 copy machines in the district. And at sites, 4 copiers are being eliminated while 1 is being added in order to maintain site equity or quality. And then with our small equipment, standalone printers, we're going to have far fewer of those. We're standardizing to a specific model. And Metro Sales is also going to manage that, so that is going to save us some costs as well.
I haven't owned a new car in over 30 years, so I'm not a great believer in new equipment, but I understand that the mixed equipment will save $72,000 over 60 months. The new equipment, $32,000. Is it just about saving money, or are there positives on the mixed equipment proposal? Because I believe that's the one you're advocating for.
It's not just about saving money. I mean, that's a side benefit, but to me, it's about being good stewards of equipment in general, right? We don't want to throw away something that has perfectly good use in it. Just like you buy used cars. Those cars have a lot of life in them, and people buy and sell used equipment all the time, and this is just being a good steward of our resources in the world.
But you're not really throwing it away, you're just exchanging it, aren't you?
Exchanging it, but we don't know what Metro Sales would do. Sometimes they can't find a buyer for used equipment, and it does become just a recycled piece of equipment.
I would also say, as this funding of this is coming out of our operating capital, which is looking at our building equipment, it's looking at our curriculum and some of that. So even having an extra, I think in this proposal, even going with the new equipment, going up $40,000 doesn't seem like a lot. But when we know we've got math curriculum and English curriculum coming on the horizon, being able to save just that $40,000 out of our operating capital is a big deal with what we have coming up in the near future. So that's why we looked at just not only the savings, but just the equipment. Being able to reduce that equipment by using some of the current equipment we have in here felt like it was a great thing for us to move forward with. That is all we had.
Are you ready? Just want to make sure everybody had a chance to ask all the questions. Is there a motion to approve the contract for the copier purchases?
Sorry.
Motion by Peggy, second by Dan. Conversation, discussion. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Amy and Todd, for all the work that you did on that to make a sound decision. Our next agenda item is a request for the approval of our donations.
Thank you, Chairperson Day. Superintendent Page and Ms. Laborde, it is my honor to be invited tonight to go through our donations. We have reviewed these and they are in accordance with School Board Policy 706. So I will review these, read them out loud, and then ask for approval again. Nick Schultz, $600, third grade day on the farm field trip. On Time Sports, $333.25, AH Athletics. American Legion Post 91, $500, AHS Gymnastics. Fraternal Order of Eagles, $1,305.76, Ellis Middle School. 12, various community groups, holiday performance, $1,700, AHS Choir, Austin Ayers. Girls Hockey Booster Club, $277.77, AHS Girls Varsity Hockey. Orthopedic Orthodontics, $200, AHS Robotics. Formal Foods Plant, $1,250, all schools. Again, we'd like to thank all these organizations for their donations.
All right, is there a motion to approve the donations? Motion by Don, second by Carol. Discussion?
Todd, do you know what that means, holiday performances in number 4, 5?
That would be Austin Air performances at a bunch of different places.
I just made a donation.
Right?
It's just a donation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Are there any delegation sharing? Okay. Reminder of our school board study session scheduled for Monday, January 26th at 4 p.m. in the district office conference room. Can I get a motion to enter closed session for the purpose of negotiations update?
So moved.
Motion by Bob, second by Carol. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed?